And I've said, yeah, Trump is a tough guy. But being a tough guy and being a complete lunatic, there should be a difference between the two. So here's the problem with Donald Trump. Anytime he talks about Putin or meets Putin, it's like he's having this great fanboy moment. He goes absolutely nuts. And the Pakistanis and the Americans probably deserve each other. But the Americans did exactly that with the Pakistanis, which I think that's the only positive thing that America has done for a long time. Jai Hind friends, I'm Major Gaurav Arya and you're watching the Chanakya Dialogues English. Like this video, subscribe to our channel and don't forget to press the bell icon. There's been a lot of... I don't know how to put it actually, ladies and gentlemen. I'm at a loss for words, which usually I am not. I speak professionally, so I should not be. But today, I was just reading Donald Trump's latest statement in which he said that the nations, the NATO member nations who do not pay their dues, I'm going to ask Russia to attack them. What does one make out of such statements? Now, here is a guy who wants to be the president of the United States once more. But I hope one day, because what the US does impacts everybody. It impacts everybody. And I've seen that Trump goes easy on the enemies of the United States of America, but he's very harsh and very tough on the friends of the United States of America. Today, the US looks at Russia as an enemy. You will hardly find any statement of Trump harshly criticizing Russian policy. Today, the US looks at China as a clear and present danger and the primary national security threat. You may hardly find any statement of Donald Trump which puts China in the dock. But Donald Trump frequently humiliates, frequently makes fun of, and frequently passes statements that would embarrass America's closest allies. In his previous term as POTUS, he embarrassed Japan. And mostly it's about money or people. I don't know what he... Now, he's saying that the member nations of NATO, everybody needs to contribute some amount of money because how does NATO function otherwise? And maybe Donald Trump feels that people need to be contributing much more and America should not be carrying all the financial burden of NATO. I think he's absolutely correct. And there is no doubt I would support Trump in this, that nations need to pull their own weight, and it can't be that you keep on putting that kind of financial pressure on the United States of America. After all, these are tax dollars. That much I understand. What I don't understand is the need for a person who wants to be president of the United States to come out and start criticizing, and not just criticizing, inviting Russia, and that's what Trump did, inviting Russia to actually attack NATO members who do not pay their dues. And what is the concept of NATO? NATO is essentially a grouping which says that if one NATO member is attacked, the others will gather around and defend that member. You attack one NATO member, you're in a state of war with all the others. That is the core belief of NATO. And Trump has just destroyed that core belief of NATO. Now, everybody, and I have got a long list and I'm going to read from a piece of paper, which I normally don't like to do. And my producer always says, don't read from a paper, it does not look good, because I don't use a teleprompter. As you would know the way I speak, you would know I don't use a teleprompter and I just ad-lib for that 15-20 minutes, whatever time I spend on recording. But, why would a person be so destructive? He's not the president of Congo or Ecuador or some other country. He is the president of the United States of America. He cannot pass such statements. It fractures this unity of the West. And this is exactly what the world wants. This is exactly what Russia wants. This is exactly what China wants. They're talking about a unipolar world already. Where is America's leadership? You say you want to make America great again. Sure, who stopped you? Who stopped you from making America great again? Make America great again. But America is also great because of its allies. If you think, or if Donald Trump thinks that America can go it alone, as they say, no, it cannot. America has not convincingly won a war after the Second World War. Convincingly, I'm saying. You look at all the American military engagements from Korea to Vietnam to South America to Iraq to Libya to Afghanistan, everywhere. It's a shameful history of a superpower not being able to go the last mile. They've not been able to do it. You know, the image of that helicopter taking off from the roof of their embassy in Vietnam, evacuating everybody. The images of the soldiers leaving Afghanistan. Their failures in Iraq after so many years. Their failures in front of the Taliban. Their failures in Korea. Their failures everywhere. These are military failures. These are foreign policy failures. America needs its allies. And militarily, America has no closer allies than NATO. And you can't hope to become president of the United States of America and shoot your mouth off. One day, I hope Trump will realize that this is not a reality show. One day. I hope he'll understand that these are not contestants in a reality. This is life and death. This is NATO that you're talking about. So this is the bulwark against a Russian invasion. If it happens, these are the guys who'll stand fast when the West is attacked. Let us say there is a Chinese attack. What's your policy on Taiwan? I'm saying if there is a Chinese attack on Taiwan, then what? Will the US protect or will the US not protect Taiwan? And when the US gets involved in a war, will NATO follow? If any American general or any American politician is under this sad misconception that America can fight wars alone, I'm sorry, it's not going to happen. America does not have the capacity and the political will either to fight or to win. Now, here are some things that have been said, and I'm going to read out a couple of things. I hate reading from papers, but today I have to make an exception because, this is simply too much. Look at this. So I have all this. He says, this is NATO chief Jens Stoltenberg, and he says, Donald Trump's suggestion to encourage Russia to attack NATO members failing to meet defense spending targets undermines security. Trump recounted a hypothetical scenario where a NATO member was attacked by a Russian due to not meeting financial obligations, stating he would not protect them. And President Joe Biden calls Trump's comments appalling and dangerous, accusing him of giving Putin a green light for further aggression. Absolutely yes. Absolutely yes. Putin knows. And see, NATO was made, let's be clear, whatever NATO says, whatever NATO's mission statement says, that's different. But NATO was actually structured in the shadow of the Cold War. And many NATO members still perceive Russia to be the primary threat. And here is the most prominent and the most powerful and the richest member of NATO saying, hey Russia, this guy's not paid his bills, why don't you nuke him? Or why don't you send a missile right up a street? This is what Donald Trump is saying. And this is shocking. This is appalling behavior by somebody who wants to be or desires to be the president of the United States. Now, defense expert Dr. Patrick Bury noted Trump's reflection of US frustration with US NATO members not meeting defense spending targets. Absolutely fine. Absolutely fine. There is frustration. But these things need to be solved diplomatically. So Trump could have very well said that, all NATO members need to meet their financial obligations, and it is not America's duty to pull everybody's weight. I expect every member nation to pull its own weight. That's all right. That's tough. That's a tough diplomatic line to take, but it's all right. But when you ask Russia to attack member, I don't know. This is crazy. I have many a time supported Trump's policies, especially with regard to immigrants, illegal immigrants. And I've said, yeah, Trump is a tough guy. But being a tough guy and being a complete lunatic, there should be a difference between the two. A combination is very bad. You are a tough guy, great. And then you're a complete lunatic. I have supported Trump's policies on this very program many a time. And I still support some of his policies. But he's not making it easy for any of us. He's not making it easy for us. He'll get up at 2 o'clock in the morning and send an embarrassing tweet. Not that I'm a Trump supporter. I'm not an American citizen. I have never, stepped on American soil in my life. I have never been to the United States of America. But yeah, as a student of geopolitics, I feel that what in God's name is this man doing? What's wrong with him? Now, Allies are bracing for political instability. These are complete notes. Allies are bracing for potential instability, regardless of who wins the elections, fearing that the US could become less dependable due to divided electorate and gridlock in Congress. No, see, this is where you get it wrong. This is where you think that US is less of a reliable ally simply because there is a divided house or there is political instability. I'm sorry, even when there was political stability, the US could not be depended upon. They have let down Zelensky, they have let down Israel, they have let down the Afghan National Army. They encouraged Afghans to fight the Taliban and then they left them there in the lurch. They left their partners who were fighting against the Viet Cong in Vietnam. America has a long history of ditching any. You help the Americans, you're dead. You help the Americans, you're gone. Because in the long run, they will encourage you, they'll give you money, they'll do everything. I mean, you see, Pakistanis are greedy. And the Pakistanis and the Americans probably deserve each other. But the Americans did exactly that with the Pakistanis, which I think that's the only positive thing that America has done for a long time. They gave money to the Pakistanis and they had an absolutely transactional relationship with the Pakistanis. And the Pakistani generals were taking all that money home and the billionaire generals in Pakistan, and that's all right. That's okay. But the problem here is you can't do that with everybody. Every country is not Pakistan. Trump's approach to allies and adversaries during his first term, Trump strained relationships with traditional allies in Europe while showing admiration for authoritarian leaders like Putin and Erdogan. He has also been critical of international organizations like NATO. So, as I said, Russia criticizes, the United States of America. The Russia and the US are not friends. So here's the problem with Donald Trump. Anytime he talks about Putin or meets Putin, it's like he's having this great fanboy moment. He goes absolutely nuts. He doesn't realize that what he's saying is not permitted by the Constitution of the United States. He expresses admiration for anybody who has dictatorial tendencies. For example, Erdogan. Erdogan is a lunatic. Nobody likes Erdogan. There's something wrong with Trump. Now, Biden's stance on Ukraine and global engagement. Biden has emphasized support for Ukraine but faces challenges in fulfilling his promise of restoring America's global leadership. Some Republicans have stalled military aid to Ukraine and American influence in Middle East conflicts has been limited. Absolutely. Why do you think America was this global leader? America was this global leader because America could throw money and America had a great military. Now, you don't want to militarily interfere, you don't want to give money, yet you want to be treated like the global policeman. Who will entertain you? Nobody. See, this is one thing I want to tell the Americans. Gratitude is future looking. And what does this mean? It means that, you see, people are grateful for not what you have done for them in the past. They're grateful for what you will do for them in the future. Gratitude is future looking. Today, America is saying, we are not going to give money to Zelensky. We are not going to fund the Ukrainian war. The Republicans are saying that, great. That's your policy, great. Don't fund it. You're saying that we don't want to militarily interfere. So, you don't have the strength, the military strength. You don't have the money. Then what kind of a superpower do you think you're going to be? European allies are increasingly worried about the reliability of the US and are discussing the need to increase military spending and plan for a future without strong American support. Absolutely. There needs to be a European version of NATO in which Europeans get together and pool in their resources, including UK. You cannot depend upon the United States of America. Israel was brutally attacked. And today America is saying, ceasefire, ceasefire, ceasefire. I mean, they've been the closest of friends and the best of allies. You see, but this is what America's stance is. And every time America puts up somebody for war, like a Zelensky, today when Zelensky says, we will lose this war, Ukraine will be swallowed up by Russia, the Americans say, hey, the Congress is not listening to us. They won't release funds. Well, America, you should have made sure that the Congress would release funds much before you asked Zelensky to start fighting back or creating such a situation where Russia had to invade Ukraine. Now, this says that Russia is bolstering ties with China, Iran, and North Korea while attempting to diminish Ukraine's international support. China remains wary of both candidates, seeing them as potentially detrimental to its interests. Now, what is happening? America has lost out. America has absolutely lost out, ladies and gentlemen. Now, today, Russians say that you want to put sanctions on us? Great, we don't need you. China says, we'll buy oil from Iran. We don't need you. India has openly told the Americans, listen, we will buy planes from wherever we wish. We will buy military hardware from wherever we wish. I mean, you can have some scraps, a drone or something like that, or an aircraft, but we will make those heavy purchases from wherever we want. And we want transfer of technology. If America is not willing to transfer technology, I'm sorry, we'll go to France, we'll go to Russia, we'll go to some other country. So where is America's leadership here? What they need to do is stick with democracies. That is the problem with Donald Trump. He sees himself as an authority. There is it's too much of a personality-driven White House under Trump. It's not process-oriented, it's personality-oriented. And whatever Trump desires, he will do. You know, I know more about war than the generals. He says stupid stuff. You know, and he says he knows more about war than the generals. It becomes increasingly more difficult for the Republicans to defend Trump. I think Trump is onto a good thing. I think Trump, if the courts don't stop him, Trump can become the next president of the United States of America. There is nothing that can stop Trump, except Trump's mouth. With this, I come to the end of today's video, ladies and gentlemen. Now for question and answers. So the first question is from Dave Torkin. If you follow what you said about Hamas, you would say Nelson Mandela was, you know what? Question. Okay, I have not understood what you just said. Jews were in EU all over and they suffered. No need to go through history. So why is there no country in EU willing to make a Jew state in EU? Because, okay, so your question is that Jews suffered in Europe the most, right? And you're saying that why don't you make an Israel inside Europe? That is because Israel has existed before there was a concept of Europe. Israel finds mention in the Bible. Israel has been there for thousands of years. For thousands of years. Even before Moses, there was an Israel. Yes, they have been marginalized, they have been subject to genocide, and most of it in Europe. Though in other countries also. Not just Europe, but yes, Europe stands out for its hatred against the Jews, for its anti-Semitic thought process throughout. You know, now it's changed radically, but there are still elements who would say stuff against Jews and stuff against Israel. But there is no point in having an Israel in EU, right? Because Israel already existed. It is just that there were no Jews there, very few Jews there. Israel has been, before there was a concept of Europe, before there was a concept of a UK. You know, England was also divided into, Germany was divided into various areas, England was divided into various areas. Before any of that came, Israel existed when Europeans were still wearing animal skins. Okay? Muawiyah Sheikh. Jain sir, I'm from Maharashtra. He said, Jain sir, earlier Nepal has claimed some part of Uttarakhand state. To what extent does land disagreement affect India and Nepal relationship? Jai Hind, Muawiyah Sheikh. No, I see, political parties will come, KP Sharma Oli, Chinese stooge, right? And as Prime Minister of Nepal was in all probability reporting into that lady ambassador of China. So they will say stuff when, you see, people like KP Sharma Oli, they will say stuff just to make China feel good and take money from China. So we have excellent relationship with Nepal. Excellent relationship with Nepal. And now you see there is no problem. Look at the case of Maldives here, by the way. Excellent relationship. Then China gives money to somebody and people start talking. And after some time they realize that this talk is getting them nowhere. So they start talking trade. That's right. Now Mohammad Muizu wants to talk trade with India after speaking all that nonsense. He's come down to Mother Earth. The third question is, Ra ki sazish. Amazing. Jai Hind, Gaurav bhai. Jai Hind, Ra ki sazish. Should Bharat strip the funding of all madrasa or masjid and make compulsory education for Muslims in school only? If so, how to do it without backlash? No, see, first of all, you should have funding for a madrasa only and only, right? If that's, modern education is part of their curriculum. Yeah. You can't have the government funding a madrasa, and I'm not aware of the current rules and law, but I'm just answering your question, I beg your pardon. I'm just answering your question the best I think how. And I think religious education should not be promoted by the government, any religion. I'm not just talking about Islam, I'm talking about every religion. It should not be promoted by, the government should promote scientific temper, and the government should say, okay, you are a madrasa, we will check what you teach. If you're only teaching religion, I'm sorry you don't get any money, you can keep teaching religion. You can keep teaching whatever you wish. Even then, the government needs to keep an eye because radicalization is happening in madrasas. Massive radicalization happening in madrasas, and the government needs to keep a keen watch on what's happening inside. But if they want the government money, they need to teach science. They need to teach history. They need to teach maths. They need to teach all the subjects. There is no point in giving money to a madrasa just because it's a madrasa. There is no need for appeasement. However, having said that, I would like to reiterate that I do not know if the government is giving money to certain madrasas or not. I am not aware of the latest rules. Thank you for watching this video, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. If you like this video, press the like button. Subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to press the bell icon. Jai Hind, Vande Mataram, Bharat Mata ki Jai.